Tulsi Gabbard is calling out Obama's lies. Good afternoon, everyone. You are watching Filibusted. Once again, technical difficulties running me a little bit late. So hopefully that's all done. And we're going to get into this now, okay? I don't know if you guys are ready for this. You're probably really ready for this because this has been all over the place. And I feel like everybody's talking about it right now. So, man, give me the thumbs up in the comments if everything's actually going well. Sometimes I don't even know. My mic was muted and I didn't know it and all kinds of stuff. We're going to get into this now. So Tulsi Gabbard just dropped a political nuke. And actually, this whole thread that she posted on X is really exhaustive almost. There's every single thing you could possibly think is in this thread that she posted. So I just wanted to show it to you guys here. I highly recommend going and reading everything. She's got comments below it. It just goes on and on. She's got really good statements in here. Good as in, informative, not necessarily positive, but that's that. So this intelligence quite legitimately is showing that Barack Obama knew that the Russian propaganda stuff was fake. This is kind of mind-blowing if you think about it, but not at the same time, because also it seems as though we kind of knew about this for years, but we're only just now putting the stamp of approval on it is what it looks like. I think we all kind of suspected that this was the case, but now we've got some real declassified documentation on it. This was a coordinated deep state operation to sabotage a sitting or coming into sitting president. And it wasn't just dirty politics. This was beyond dirty politics. This goes crazy, and it is being called treason, in fact. And we're going to get into exactly what that means and why it's relevant and all that good stuff. So it wasn't just about protecting Hillary or attacking Trump's campaign. It was about weaponizing the intelligence community to stop Trump from ever becoming president and then punishing him as much as possible. That's what this was really about. So as more documents come out, more truth is going to become available, and we're going to follow up on all of that as long as it's relevant and isn't extra. But if more stuff comes out that we feel like is good enough, then we're gonna talk about it. But I have a feeling that is going to happen. The Intelligence Community Assessment, the ICA, is what the CIA, NSA, and FBI supposedly put together to determine Russia's role in the 2016 election. But this report, which was rushed and heavily politicized, was used as a weapon to delegitimize President-elect Trump before he took office. The ICA claimed Russia helped Trump win, but internal IC sources now admit that was always shaky at best. IC being intelligence community once again. And in fact, Obama's fingerprints are all over this thing. He is implicated in all the ways. Obama ordered the ICA to be created, not through standard procedure, but via John Brennan's CIA, bypassing checks and balance mechanisms. Obama came out with this statement recently, actually. This is very interesting. Oh, I don't want to subscribe to you, rooters. Okay. Came out with a statement. It's not going to let me show it to you because they want me to subscribe, but I did write it down over here. He said that these bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. Gabbard responded on Fox News saying, "It's the art of deflection." And this is my paraphrasing. I listened to what she said and I'm paraphrasing it. "It's the art of deflection. It doesn't actually address the issue that we covered in great detail. That points to the undeniable fact that the intelligence community had one assessment that Russia did not have the intent or capability to try to impact the outcome of the U.S. election." So what happened was, back in the day, for the Russia documents, the Steele dossier, John Brennan, the at the time CIA director, in cahoots with James Comey, the at the time FBI director, picked out of an entire intelligence apparatus 5 handpicked people to write the report with no dissent and no oversight, and then they rushed it through the system without any checks and balances, right? And then the CIA pushed the FBI and NSA to accept the Russian narrative, even though both had serious internal objections, quite a few internal objections, not injections. In August of 2016, Obama was briefed on Hillary Clinton's plan to smear Trump with a fake Russia connection, and he knew it. They both knew that this was fake. They both knew that these documents were not real, that they were fabricated, and they pushed it anyway. And they pushed it deceptively in a way that they could kind of not directly claim, oh, yeah, we did that. But they did. Clapper and Brennan lied to Congress, hiding dissent within the intelligence community and giving incomplete, cherry-picked briefings. Actually, I wish I would have written this down, but I think even Brennan said something to the effect of, when he was called out on it being fake, he said, well, yeah, but it rings true, doesn't it? Like, what weird stuff happening, and we just kind of all accepted it, right? Well, not we all, but The FBI kept investigating Trump despite knowing internally there was no evidence of collusion. In fact, they closed the collusion case internally and then kept it going anyway. So Tulsi's bombshell that she just dropped is really crazy. She has the whole document available. I think I have it pulled up in here. We're going to go through in a second. She's been outspoken before, but this week she definitely took off the gloves and confirmed that Obama was briefed on this false plan and let it proceed. I've got a couple quotes from here I listened to. I don't know if you guys saw, she went live earlier today with Caroline Levitt, press briefing, and broke down the whole thing. It was really informative, but it was kind of also a lot of the things that she's already been saying. So I still obviously recommend going and watching it, but a lot of it was a repeat. But I wanted to point out a few quotes, and these are kind of long, so bear with me, but these are really good quotes. She said, obviously talking about Obama and company involved, the CIA and all that. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in 2016. The reason why I'm telling you guys this, just got to interrupt myself for a second, is because Obama is being called for treason. That is a huge accusation. And we all saw Trump talk about that. And he literally said Obama should be tried for treason. And so I had to look up treason, well, what is treason exactly? And does this count as treason? And she kind of explained it a little bit better than I could. So I'm just going to continue quoting her. There was a gross politicization manipulation of intelligence by the Obama administration intended to delegitimize President Trump before he was inaugurated, ultimately usurping the will of the American people. Key phrase. And then when she was asked if Obama committed treason, she said, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and treasonous conspiracy against the American people, another key phrase there, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration. This was essentially warfare against America in one way or another. That's why this is treason, because it was against the American people and it usurped our authority as electors of the president, the duly elected president of the United States. And lastly, one more quote from her. The intelligence reflects Russia's motives were to try to sow discord, the intelligence being the Steele dossier and everything that happened back then. It was saying that Russia's motives were to try to sow discord and chaos within the U.S. election, which is a clear distinction from showing a preference for or against a specific candidate, which is what Obama manufactured intelligence document alleged, excuse me, that Russia preferred Donald Trump and tried to help Donald Trump get elected again, going back to the most important point here with the intent to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump's election and therefore subvert the will of the American people who chose to send him to the White House. So the main players in this operation that happened during the time frame: Barack Obama signed off on the narrative that he knew was false. John Brennan, architect of the ICA, micromanaged intel to fit the narrative. James Clapper gave Congress false and misleading briefings. James Comey oversaw the FBI's sham investigation even after exculpatory evidence came in. And then, of course, Hillary Clinton, originator of the plan, first briefed by U.S. intelligence. So what we're seeing here is a narrative control slippage because the truth is starting to come out. Well, the truth is starting to be officialized. I should say, and it's slipping out of MSM's hands right now. They're scrambling to cover for Obama and Clinton. I read an article this morning from CNN where it said, here's the article. Let me jump over to it. Yeah, they don't like this at all, do they? They quote within the article, Gabbard's declassified document release is only the latest example of Trump administration officials trying to rewrite the history of the Russia investigation during the president's first 6 months in office. Oh, is that right? Okay. According to the CIA intels themselves, they actually said this about the Russian misinformation. All individuals the committee interviewed stated that the Steele dossier material did not in any way inform the analysis in the ICA, including the key judgments, because it was unverified information. They're saying it right there. And had not been disseminated as serialized intelligence reporting. That's what the committee report from the ICA is saying, that it is unverified information. But this article was using that in this weird political twist of a way to say, we never said that Russia was influencing the election. We just said that Russia and Putin and Trump were like buddies. And that's not not what happened. And I feel like we probably all remember what did actually happen during the time frame. The Steele dossier, when it came out, was supposed to be proof that Trump colluded with Russia, and the CIA knew what they were doing when they published it and when they put their stamp of approval on it. And regardless of what they may backtrack and say, they let the MSM hounds loose on this, and they certainly took it as far as they possibly could. And I'm going to give some examples of that. You might remember back in the day, Rachel Maddow was a big fan of the Steele dossier, and she pushed this all over the place, and she was like giddy about it too. And then the next article, this one, Fox News actually published this, which is an interesting article to read. It says 10 times the media declared the discredited Steele dossier was not disproven. Talk about double negatives. But anyway, so in this article, they go on to claim that the MSNBC, New York Times, CNN, and many more had jumped onto the dossier train and pushed it as the official narrative that Trump was colluding with Russia in order to win the presidency. And when really quite the opposite actually happened. If you look at the documents that were just presented and what Tulsi Gabbard is saying, Russia, in fact, held back information on Hillary Clinton that was incriminating against her because they were 100% sure that Clinton was going to win in 2016, and they wanted her to. And so they intentionally held back bad, negative press about her so that it wouldn't affect the US presidential election. Go figure. Okay, so now I'm going to move into why. Well, actually, you know what? Let's hop over here real quick and see if this will load. These are some of the documents that have come out. This one is an older one. I don't want to go to that one. This is the one I want to go to. This is the official declassified information that Tulsi Gabbard has produced, and it goes through all of the documents and highlights all of the important parts that are basically proving the Steele dossier, which is the biggest smoking gun, anti-smoking gun. I don't know what you would call that in this whole operation. And I, once again, recommend you guys go and find this. This is a very easy thing to get right now. In fact, actually, Tulsi's post right here, pretty sure that's where I got it. Yeah, she's got the link for it right here. So you can go click on that. You can read through all of these highlighted things, or just read her expose there on X, and it's got all kinds of good information. But I think at this point, we all kind of understand that the Steele dossier was fabricated and that it was used as ammunition against Trump, and that this means that there needs to be some sort of criminal investigation into the people behind it who are doing this on purpose. I think that at this point, most of us can agree that, well, we at least need to investigate this more, right? So here's what I'm seeing happening on the conversation front, like in comment sections and all of that, and which I'm sure most of this is bots, or at least a good portion of it. But regardless, it is a rhetoric that is being pushed, and that is that this whole thing is a deflection against the Epstein case right now. And so people are trying to push us all the way back to Epstein and say, why are we talking about Russiagate? Let's talk more about Epstein. And I wanted to address that for a little bit because this is all connected, okay? What many don't understand, and I have said this before, this all points to the Russia collusion and all of this, everything that Clinton and Obama did back in the day in 2016 around this whole Russia narrative, all points back to human trafficking in one way or another. It's all interconnected. You can think of the Steele dossier as the key to the real story, and you cannot unlock the real story without this first. That's why this is coming first. We have to warm up into this discussion, basically. The Russia hoax, aka the Steele dossier, was an attempt to get Clinton into office, who would have buried everything incriminating against her and other bad players. If she had gotten into office, we would not be anywhere near Epstein. Trust me, Epstein would have never come up again or anything related to him. Once you prove the Russia story false, you open up the gate to investigate the rest of the story. And that leads us to this great quote from HRC herself, unwittingly setting her own demise back in the day. She, talking of Julian Assange, let me get my mouse over here to get you this article. Where is it? Is it? I just gave it away. Said that Julian Assange is a tool of Russian intelligence. I think I broke up for a minute. Okay, Julian Assange, a tool of Russian intelligence. For those of you who don't know who Julian Assange is, he is the founder of WikiLeaks. And just so you know, also, I threw this little article in here. This is an old article. Hillary Clinton already was fined over the Trump-Russia dossier. So this, like, just once again proving that this is actually old information that's just being confirmed. So let's get to this ending twist here. Hillary Clinton, amidst the accusations of Russian interference that she endorsed, attempting to discredit WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. Assange is an Australian editor, publisher, and activist who co-founded WikiLeaks in 2010 in an attempt to expose corruption in politics, worldwide politics. WikiLeaks exposed email communications between high-up officials, namely those between Hillary Clinton and, I want you all to remember this name if you don't know it already, John Podesta. While WikiLeaks exposed wartime corruption schemes, general political misbehavior, and other unsurprising illegal activities from politicians, there is a deeper expose at hand here. The difficult thing about this deeper expose is that some dark and disturbing messages were exchanged between Podesta, Clinton, Huma Abedin, and many others that were supposedly, but these references were supposedly in code. And so they don't hold water now because of that. And this all leads us to what I've been yelling from the rooftops all along, and I hope and I pray gets to happen, is testimony. We have to have testimony because if we don't have that, then a lot of these things are not going to hold water. Okay, so will the perpetrators of these crimes, including all of the Steele dossier stuff, be fully exposed for their heinous crimes they've committed, or will they just be tried for the lesser, quote unquote, lesser crimes of treason, perjury, obstruction of justice, fraud, abuse of power, etc., and the dark things never come to light? I really don't know. I can't answer that. I hope that, well, it's interesting because I don't really want to say I hope that the dark things come to light because they're dark things, and we don't really want to expose it too much at the risk of those who are hurt by it. But it does need to be exposed enough that it gets stopped, right? So I don't know if it's going to be that they just get incriminated for these crimes and then the justice is right for that and includes all of it, or if it really just all gets exposed. We're just going to have to wait and see. And I think it hinges on this testimony coming. So I wanted to point out that the problem with the WikiLeaks, if you guys don't know anything about it, when WikiLeaks was produced or when it was like blown open, it's like thousands and thousands of emails and documents proving all of this corruption. It was not the most legal way to do it. And so we have this whole bag of information that we really actually can't use. However much I think that Julian Assange is brave and it should have happened, it's not necessarily the best way to go about it. And so we can't really use it. It's all not easy to prove, because now it's being tampered with, because Julian Assange got like thrown in prison, and I don't even know, I haven't looked him up in a while, so I think he got out of prison if I remember right, but it's been a long hard road for him, and so who knows what's gone on now with all this information. And it's not reliable anymore. I think I could be wrong. Hopefully I am on that one, but it seems as though when you do something like that, it makes it no good anymore. And so that's exactly why I've talked about the whole Epstein files and all of that stuff coming out. It has to be done a particular way. You can't just throw it all out there and let the cards fall where they may, which is like a common statement that I was seeing floating around, like, just get it all out and let everybody figure it out for themselves. Like, no. You do that and you disqualify all of that information. You can't just throw it out there. It has to be done a particular way. And remember, it's only been 6 months. Only 6 months. You can't undo decades of corruption in 6 months. You need to give it some time, but we do still need to keep fighting for it and pushing for it, right? But there's a process. Let's go through the correct process of getting this information out there so that real justice can be served and not thrown to the side because now everything's disqualified because it wasn't done right. So anyway, last note, I wanted to, it's kind of encouraging in a really discouraging way, but just so you guys know, things are being done. I like to always point out that regardless of what you believe about the Epstein files and whether or not they should be produced or whatever, things are happening, and they're happening at a pretty decent pace. Kash Patel, this is like breaking news kind of in a sense, just came out a few hours ago, no more than, with an announcement. They have just launched what's called Operation Grayskull. And this is a huge operation that is taking down 4 major dark web child abuse sites. So things are happening. Be encouraged that some of this dark stuff is getting cut off at the knees and we're taking it out. All right. That's Kash Patel. I once again encourage you to go to his Facebook FBI page on X and see what he said about it. But this is a huge operation that has already had some success. They've already arrested people for some of these dark, heinous crimes, and things are happening, okay? If you're doubting that justice is coming, this is just one more piece of evidence that it is. Hold fast, push hard, and know that the real issue at hand, child exploitation, is being dismantled one piece at a time. All right, so also, I want to announce, I should have pulled this up. I didn't think about it. I'm not on Facebook much, but apparently I'm going to have to be on Facebook a little bit more because we have just launched an official Filibusted Facebook page. The link is going to be in the description below at some point. I don't know if Troy already put it in there, but we are going to have a page for that. And so I guess I'm going to have to go get back on Facebook and be active or something, because I'm assuming that I'm going to have some responsibility there in some way. So I hope to see you guys on that Facebook page. I would go through the questions and stuff on the side right now, but I've already run later than I wanted to. So maybe I'll go through these later and try to answer them in a different video at some point. But anyway, I hope you guys are having a great Wednesday, and we will see you guys tomorrow on the regular show, which is the bigger show if you're not familiar. And that's going to be probably at 2 o'clock. It'll at least be in the afternoon, and it'll be all 4 of us here, and we'll be talking about something. So we'll see you then. Have a good one, guys.